right, so this time we'll say kanpai.
All right,
Man, kanpai.
kanpai.
Great. I filled that up a little bit too high, but yeah. So by the way, this sake is Azakura from Akita.
Mm-hmm.
So you can find it if you just like search this. You can find it. It's actually really cheap.
Yeah.
This is like 1,100 yen.
Oh, right on.
So it's pretty good.
Nice.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about what it's like to work in Japan, and you have the much more traditional route because
Definitely.
you were in JET.
Yeah.
Are you still in JET now?
Yes. I'm finishing up my last year right now.
Okay.
And I'm in the process of negotiating my future.
Okay. But yeah, so you were in JET,
Yes.
and now it's okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Whereas with me, I came here, and I was self-employed, and I like fell in love with Natsumi. We got married, and I decided to live here, and I've been working on my business here. So my experience is very non-traditional. So probably I want to hear a lot about your experience. But so you said in the last episode that you have a lot of things you like, but a lot of kind of gripes you got. So can you unpack that a little bit?
Well, yeah. Let's see. Where do I start? I like to start on maybe some of the stuff that I didn't like, and then we'll kind of branch out into some of the stuff that I liked. So, some of the small things that I've experienced while teaching here is, I found that a lot of schools tend to be very old-fashioned.
Okay.
In how
what
they
do you mean
organize.
by old? Okay.
Oh, so in how they organize lesson plans and the curriculum that they want to teach. So there's a lot of examples, but for example, one thing is when I first came here, I'm an ALT.
Yeah.
I've since evolved from that.
What's an ALT?
It's an assistant language teacher.
Okay.
Is what it stands for. And you're very much an assistant when you're an ALT. I've since evolved from that, and I'm kind of just doing my own thing now. But when I first came here, that's what I started as. And there's kind of like a very listen and repeat style of approaching English lessons. And that's something that really instantly turned me off because when I first came here, and I think most teachers feel this way when they first come here, is you get this idea of, I'm going to change the world, all these,
I had that feeling too.
all these people saying like all these things like, no.
Yeah.
When I get there, I'm going to change it. And I'm going to be the one who starts the new trends.
Yeah.
And so I felt that way when I first came here, and I was like, I'm just going to come in and change all the curriculums, and I'm going to do all my lesson plans.
Yeah.
And it's like, you come here and you start working at a school, and you come to the realization that's a hell of a lot harder than you think it is. Because first of all, there's curriculum for various grades. Now, my school, I work at a junior high and high school. Some people work at just one of those. So there's some variables there. But specifically for private schools, the teachers don't transfer out typically.
What do you mean transfer out?
So compared to public schools, the teachers will transfer to a different school in the prefecture every like 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
So there's a lot of like rotation and kind of there's a little bit more of a progressive approach when it comes to public schools. Whereas private schools, the teachers typically stay there for sometimes their entire working life.
Okay.
And so a lot of teachers, especially the ones that are the more veteran teachers that have been there 20, 30 years, typically I've found don't like to change their lesson plan.
Yeah, right.
They find something that's comfortable and works for them, and I totally understand that, but
just do the same thing every year for 20
maybe doing
years.
something for like 20 years, maybe you should update it a little bit. You know what I mean? There's been a lot of pushback for example, just something as simple as I wanted to go paperless with my classes.
Yeah, right.
Because, and this is not unique to my school. This is It's something you will see in every school here in Japan. You go into the teacher's office and there is literal walls of papers.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I'm talking lesson plans that were from like 15 years ago. And it's like, why did we have lesson plans for 15 years ago? We're not using those. That book hasn't been opened in 10 years.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I suggested to the English department, I was like, hey guys, you know what? Why are we printing out all these papers? This is just such a waste of time, and it's a waste of resources. Like I try to be environmentally friendly when I can. And so I was like, hey, look, you know, our school has iPads. We have access to an online database for our school. Why don't we just do the lesson plans on that? Yeah. And got a lot of pushback from that. And, you know, we ended up not doing it.
What kind of pushback did you get from that?
You know, teachers just straight up saying no.
Yeah, but why? Like, was there any reasoning for that?
You know, I've asked multiple times.
Okay.
And the reasoning was simple. It's like, this is what we've done. So this is what we're going to continue to do.
Okay.
So that has been a very frustrating experience. And specifically with my school, we've recently had a huge shift.
Yeah.
And
I remember you talking about that.
You know, like in teachers leaving and then getting new teachers, and all of a sudden I'm in this weird position where I'm like one of the most senior English teachers at my school, which that's a whole nother experience. But so since then I have some more power in my school, so I get more say-so in the English department, which I enjoy. But I think specific, a lot of people coming over here and, you know, entering that ALT position, they will experience that they don't have as much power as they thought they did, because that's how I felt. I felt like, you know, especially with the JET program, how it really pushes you. They really give the idea that you're in charge of your classes. And maybe that's the experience for a lot of other jets. That just wasn't the experience that I had.
Yeah, I talked to other jets, and from what I understand, the jet program is basically you're a glorified voice recorder to say the sentences for students to imitate.
Sure. So I really struggled with that because, you know, like, I mean, I was like one of those like stereotype people who are like, I'm going to go to Hollywood and I'm going to be a famous actor. For me, I was like, I'm going to go to Japan and I'm going to be the badass English teacher. That is what I'm going to do. Right. And I'm going to be famous. And when I came here,
you can still be famous, dude.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
My dreams have not died.
Well, we could talk about that then, because I don't want to be famous, but I can help you be famous for sure. For sure.
But yeah, so I came here and I was, I don't want this to sound that I'm complaining about my school, because I love my job. I love the place that I work. But I really want to emphasize that most places are going to keep you on a short leash if you come here as an ALT, because first of all, a lot of ALTs just have a bad reputation. You know, there's a lot of people who come here, and to be fair, I understand why this position is attractive to this type of person, but there's a lot of people who come here and just want to live in Japan, just want to experience that. And there's nothing wrong with that. But some of those individuals tend to not respect the job.
Yeah, right.
And what it does is it creates a bad reputation. So I had that experience when I first showed up at my school. There was a jet 2 years ago, and she just had really poor professional skills.
When you said 2 years ago, was that 2 years before you arrived?
2 years before I arrived.
Okay.
And she just had really poor professional skills. You know, she was using her phone during lessons, just whipping out her phone and like texting people, you know, just doing small stuff like that. I mean, she wasn't doing anything, you know, really horrendous, but just not good etiquette. Yeah. And it really soured the relations of ALTs for my school, to the point where they were really debating if they even really wanted to have like a foreign teacher in there. So when I arrived, I was on a very short leash. It was like, all right, cool. So you can be in this class, and you can kind of just like be in this class. You don't get to make your own lesson plans. And just you'll be there, and when we want to know how this is pronounced, we'll ask you. And that was my experience. And then
No, so it's funny because, I worked at that school for like 4 months.
Yeah.
It wasn't what I expected, so I changed. I knew like the Japanese traditional English education system was not good. So if I was going to make something to change, I had to do it on my own, which is one of the reasons I was self-employed. But I remember, like one of the teachers, and you probably know who this teacher is, had me make a lesson plan.
Yeah.
And I said, "Oh, how should I make the lesson plan?" And the person said, "Oh, just do this topic. It's totally fine." So I did a lesson plan. And the person said, "Okay, well then, wait, where is the recitation part?"
Yeah.
I was thinking, "Oh, wait, I'm supposed to do that? Okay, well, I'll put that in." And then the person said, "Okay, well, where's like the writing activity that needs to happen?" I'm like, "Well, it doesn't need to happen?" She's like, "Yes." I'm like, "Why?" Because that's how you've always done things. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I realized, oh wait, this is not a good fit for me.
Yeah. So that's an issue.
Yeah.
Another thing that I personally haven't experienced, but my coworkers, including some of my foreign coworkers, have experienced is harassment.
Okay.
And then, like I said, this is not something that's unique to my school. This is just kind of an issue with schools in general here. Is there's what's called power harassment.
Yeah, so I've heard about that. Like coming to Japan, people say pawahara, right?
Yes.
But what is that exactly?
So I mean, it can take various forms. But one of the most common forms is let's say, for example, an older teacher, probably in their 50s or 60s, will go home at 5 o'clock. Day's done. They go home. Younger teacher in their 20s and 30s is stuck there till like 9 or 10, making all the lesson plans because that teacher didn't help the young teacher, even though they're in the same department and working in the same classes. They just kind of go, oh, well, I did my time, so you take care of this. And that's something that's very common here.
Okay. But how is that harassment though?
Well, it's harassment in the sense that it's not just their lessons that they're making, but also the other teacher's lessons.
Okay.
They'll start shifting things. So
the senior has seniority, so the other person has seniority, so they're like forcing work on that person.
Yes. Okay. So my coworker, when she was here, she was also a jet. She experienced that a lot, and moving on to the other form of harassment, kind of like discrimination towards women, is something you'll see pretty much everywhere. And this is not just in the school environment.
Well, no, I understand that, but like I feel like how does that specifically play out? So what have you seen?
So like I'll explain. So in my situation, both of us are from Seattle.
Okay.
Right. We're
both female teacher.
Yeah, we're both Americans.
Okay.
But the difference is I'm stereotype gaijin.
Yeah.
I'm a big tall white guy.
Yeah.
That's what a lot of people, when they think of foreigners here, they think of me.
Yeah, right.
Right? Blonde, well, I guess I'm not.
No, but you have blue eyes though.
But I got the blue eyes.
Yeah.
Like tall white skin, like that's like I said, that's the stereotype here. She is the exact opposite. She's Japanese American.
Okay.
Very short.
Yeah.
And extremely young.
Yeah.
She was 22 when she came here.
Okay.
And we were treated very, very differently.
Okay.
So, like, for example, we would have teachers come up to her and just be like, hey, do this work. Never would come up to me.
Really?
I never experienced that. And I noticed that, like, it's probably a year or two after she was already here, she was looking really stressed one day. And like I said, I was unaware this was going on, and I sat her down and I was like, hey, what's going on? Like, you look really, like, distressed right now. Yeah. And she kind of just explained everything. She's like, these guys keep just dumping all this work on me. And like, I had to come in on my day off, and like I was here till 8 o'clock. All these things. And I was just like, what are you talking about? No one's talked to me about this. and it's just those kind of thing. Like I started teaching here when I was 27, so I was the oldest jet in my group. There were like most people are coming here fresh out of college, and starting at like 22, 23. That's like the average age. So I was 27, so I already had like in like the senpai kohai system.
Yeah, right. You were already older,
like,
so you had that seniority a little bit. Yeah.
And she was coming here. This was her first career. I've done a lot of other jobs, including teaching when I was in the U.S. So, like I said, I had more experience, so I had that seniority. But I also, I'm a big, tall, scary white guy.
Yeah, right.
So I've got more of that intimidation factor that maybe somebody doesn't want to like just try and like bully me into doing something where she's a little bit more vulnerable to that. So that's something that I experienced, and I don't think that that's a unique story. I think that's a very common story that's actually a big problem here.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard that from a lot of my friends too. Like, I remember there was this one friend of mine. It was around 5 p.m. and I said, "Hey, what are you up to?" On Facebook, right? Facebook Messenger, and she said, "Oh yeah, I'm just still at work." Like, "Oh, you're using Facebook at work? You can do that?" She's like, "Yeah." It's like, don't you have work to do? And she's like, no, I finished it all. I'm just waiting for my boss to leave.
Yeah.
It's like, what do you mean? Like, why can't you leave before your boss? Oh, no, I can't do that. We have to leave after he leaves.
Yeah.
So we're all just waiting here until he's done.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's some of the more negative things that I experienced here. Obviously, it's not all bad because, like I said, I love my job and I love teaching here. So some of the positive things.
Yeah.
So I have the unique opportunity to teach in an all-girls school.
Okay.
And I didn't expect to fall in love with that. Because typically, so when I was teaching in the U.S., I was teaching co-ed, and I had a couple all-boys groups that would come over here.
What were you teaching in the States?
So I was a program coordinator for a homestay company.
Oh, cool.
And so it was my job to, coordinate programs.
Okay.
Yeah, so schools would come over here on a homestay trip, typically like 2 weeks to a month.
Okay.
And I would organize classes. I would teach the classes. I would take them on field trips and do that kind of thing. And so I had never taught all girls before. I've taught groups of all boys, and they're they're a unique bunch.
Okay.
It is definitely fun teaching all boys, but it's chaotic. Like one anecdotal thing is one day finished lessons and we don't have an afternoon program for the afternoon. So I told them, I was like, "Hey guys, there's a playground outside. These are all high schoolers." And I was like, "There's a playground, there's like basketball court, soccer field, like here's some balls, here's some stuff to mess around with. Let's go run around and do stuff for an hour, and then your host families will pick you up."
Yeah, right.
So they run out there, and like I said, these are high school boys.
Yeah.
Right? They're all like 16, 17. So I was like, I don't need to supervise them so much because they're like almost adults. That was a huge mistake.
Yeah.
10 minutes, not even 15 minutes go by. 10 minutes. Two guys come running up. They're like, Austin. I'm like, "Hey, what's up? What's the panic?" Rayo broke his arm.
What?
And I'm just like, what? So we run out there, and so these guys were, on an asphalt basketball court, and they were trying to do slam dunks.
Okay.
And so,
It just broke his arm. Okay.
And I'm just like, God damn it! Like, it's such a boy thing to do.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like just people doing this. Boy, you remember when you were a teenager? You just do dumb stuff.
Yeah. Hey, is this gonna hurt? Let's try it.
Yeah, and it's just like for me, I used to climb trees a lot when I was a kid, and it's like all the neighborhoods kids always ended up getting hurt by that.
Yeah. Right.
And it's just like, I will say, when you're teaching all girls, you don't experience that.
Okay.
They're not as stupid.
Okay.
When it comes to like hurting themselves.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
But yeah, it's been a really unique experience because as a man, I don't really I don't really get to identify with like, you know, a lot of things that girls are interested in, like, you know, something that teenage Japanese girls are very, very interested in is K-pop.
Yeah, right?
You know?
Oh, man.
Look, I was aware that K-pop existed before I came to Japan, but I can honestly say that I've never been a fan of K-pop. That has changed.
Oh, really? You like K-pop now?
That has changed. That has changed. I like, what is it? Twice.
Okay.
I like BTS. God, oh my God. You're going to put me on the spot. I'm trying to remember all these.
No, you're putting yourself on the spot. I'm just letting you talk right now, man.
That's fair. Oh God, what's the other group? There's another girls group that's like, anyways, my students are really obsessed with.
Yeah.
But you know, it's like, you ever go to Disneyland and you go on that, like that, It's a Small World ride, where it just like gets drilled into your head and then it just never leaves. That's K-pop for me.
Yeah. Okay.
Every single day I go into my class. So I'm a homeroom teacher at my school, and I hear K-pop every time I go in. It's like, all right, well, that's just the thing I know now.
So you're talking a lot as like someone from Jet who has done schooling, who like basically teaches English, right?
Yeah.
There are other people too who come to Japan who are not English teachers.
Yeah.
And so, do you have friends who are not English teachers who are foreigners in Japan?
I do. 99% of them are IT.
Okay. And
I don't know why.
And what's their lifestyle like working in Japan? Did you talk about that at all?
Yeah. A lot of my foreign friends. None of my Japanese friends are. Sorry, I should say this differently. All of my Japanese friends are teachers.
Okay.
It's just the community I'm attached to. But most of my foreign friends are the exact opposite. Most of them are IT guys.
Okay.
And most of them work at home. They don't go to companies. And
especially with like COVID and everything, right?
Well, yeah, especially
even before COVID.
Even before COVID,
Okay.
Many of them worked remotely.
Okay.
I know one guy who's a real fancy guy. He's French, and he's like a liaison for Airbus.
Okay.
That guy lives in like some executive suite in Shinjuku. It's crazy. He's like literally across the street from the government office. Warhammer. We both play tabletop games. This guy's a multi-millionaire. I'm just some broke teacher. We both play tabletop games, man. It's funny. I've actually met a ton of rich guys.
Yeah.
There's a multi-millionaire guy that like came over, and I forget, he was like with Amazon or something. This guy had more expensive bottles of alcohol than I've ever seen in my life. This guy pulled out a $200 bottle of sake.
Really?
When we came to just play like a board game at his house. It was just like, I don't know, this looked good. Do you guys know this? Because like he's been in Japan for like a week.
Yeah, right.
He's like, do you guys know this? It's like, yeah, dude, that's pretty expensive. He's like, whatever, let's drink it tonight. It's like,
awesome.
Okay.
Awesome. So Warhammer is really like that kind of goes into what we were talking about last time about finding people with common interests of you. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah. Absolutely. You'll it's weird how I don't know if it's unique to Japan, but I haven't experienced this anywhere else. Where when you enter a hobby group here, you'll get people from all walks of life. Okay. There's people who are
I've seen that.
You know, here, I've got a guy who's like a beach bum and just kind of like, you know, hangs out and surfs all day and then, you know, does his thing. And then, like I said, I've got buddies who are literal multimillionaires. I'm just like some random nobody.
Man.
So
it's really cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
So for them, for those people in IT, they work from home. But is there anything like different from their experience working in the States, you think? Or is it just really chill?
They have like, this is all secondhand. So I'm just going off what they've told me. But they've told me that work hours are more demanding here. Yeah. And moving from IT, there's actually like one or two friends of mine. One of them is an engineer and he's from Vietnam, and the other is kind of a self-made businessman from Thailand. Okay. Kind of similar to your situation. Okay. But the guy, specifically the Vietnamese guy who's an engineer, has he's told me he works a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think part of that's the fact that he's an engineer, and I think that's just a very demanding job in general. I think even outside of Japan, you're going to be probably pulling 50, 60 hour work weeks pretty much anywhere you go. But yeah, he's expressed that he kind of does like what you hear the stereotype like blacklist job, like work hours. So like 80 hours a week is something that he'll do from time to time. So he hates his job.
Okay. Because he just works so much.
He just works so much.
Okay.
He makes good money. Can't complain about that. But yeah, he's definitely worked to death.
Yeah. So what is something that you like about working in Japan more than what you would imagine working in the United States is like?
A couple things. I like that I don't hear somebody's opinion when I go to work.
What do you mean?
You know, I've worked a lot of jobs, and you know, when I was in the U.S., it's like, hey, did you hear about such and such thing happen on the news? And it's like, dude, I just want to get through my workday. Like,
okay,
I don't want to talk about this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't experience that here. Nobody talks about politics. Nobody talks about like world events.
Yeah.
At least at my job. I mean, if there's some like really big event, maybe somebody will bring it up in the school, in the teacher's office, but typically you don't hear about it. And I really like that. I like that there's a sense of professionalism here, that when you're working, you're working. I really appreciate that. And I also really appreciate that people just don't get in your business. You know what I mean? When I am working in the teacher's office, I mean, you know what my teacher's office is like. There's not a lot of privacy in there.
Yeah, right.
But no one's nosy about it.
Yeah.
No one's coming up and being like, hey, Austin, what are you doing exactly right there?
Yeah.
They just they leave you to your own devices. Yeah. To the point where we actually had one guy who was like literally just fell asleep and was snoring in the office. But that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah, you know, it's funny though, because like that's something I noticed because personally, if I had to work at a regular company in Japan, I probably would not live here.
Sure.
Just because I'm too lazy. I remember going to, what is it? I haven't worked a traditional job before in my life. There was this one time when I was working for an app company that failed, but in that time I went to the tech team in India for 10 days. Yeah. And I worked in an office and realized how much I hate it. Yeah. But I remember going there with you and just like where you were working at your school and just seeing everyone talking and thinking about how everyone is pretty focused. Yeah. And like, you know, you kind of have that guy in a lot of office culture in the States, the guy who doesn't do his work, but is a paper pusher and like just chats up with everyone. But I didn't see that kind of a guy. Yeah. Or you'll have like the traditional like water cooler room, like, you know, where people just go to kind of talk, and you don't really experience that here. Specifically like when lunchtime rolls around, everyone just kind of goes off to their little corners and or goes outside. Like for me, as soon as lunchtime rolls around, I'm out. I usually go and sit out like outside in a bench and kind of do my own thing, and that's pretty common. So like the work hours are more are longer, but they're more focused. It's more of like a clear line between life and okay. Yeah. Okay. So I like that. Yeah. And I also acknowledge that there's a lot of people who don't like that. Yeah. It's just my personality. I tend to really enjoy that style of work because it helps me focus. Yeah. You know, for me, because I had online classes for about a year. My school went completely online. And I really found that hard for me. I am not somebody who can focus at all. Like if I worked at a job where I was like, hey, it's remote work, you can just relax at home, I would get nothing done. Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah. So I struggled with that for the first like 3 years. Yeah. I mean, I still struggle with it sometimes, but you know, now I have like this room where I just, this is my space to work, you know? But yeah, working at home is tough, man. Yeah. I can imagine, because I like I said, I just had to do it for that year, and it was just like, it made me so lazy. Yeah. You know, I planning lesson plans, I'd be like doing this and be like, oh, okay, well maybe I'll watch a little 45 minutes of YouTube. Yeah, right.
Or just like everything's just readily there. Or like I have my refrigerator there, and it's like I gained so much weight when I was on when it was lockdown and I was at home because it's just like just go to the refrigerator, get a little snack between classes or something.
Right. Yeah. No, I get
that. So I really like being at work, and it allows me to focus and to sit down and go, okay, I got to get this done. That kind of thing.
Yeah. So what do you think? You should for people who want to come to Japan to work, maybe as a way to just find a way to live here, and so they're going on jet and something. What's something they should be aware of? What they're getting into? I think, and this kind of goes with what I was saying about the previous jet. I think if you're planning on coming here to Japan, you don't have to be good at your job. If you're an ALT or if you're an English teacher or a teacher in general, you don't have to be good at your job. But the one thing that I really just kind of irks me here is I think you should respect the job that you're doing. Yeah. No matter how meaningless and pointless you may think it is, there's just a level of professionalism here that I think when you give people respect here, you get respect in return. Respect is a big deal here, and that's how I was able to overcome my position when I first came here. Like I said, I came here with a really short leash, and I specifically was proactive on this. I was like, hey, you know what? You can trust me. You can give me some more responsibility, and I can do this. Yeah, if you show up and you show that you can do it, and you respect the position.
Yes. Yeah. And so over time, I was given a lot more leeway in what I could do.
That's something that I really, that's actually something I really like about Japan as a culture. Is of course, now I think it's changing a little bit, but even if you do menial jobs, the people do them with such focus and professionalism. Like, this is my job, so I'm going to do the best that I can. Whereas like in the States, it's not like that. Yeah. So like, I think if you adopt that mindset of like, whatever you do, of course you make money, but if you just see it as a way to make money, then you're not respecting that position. You're not going to do well. Whereas if you like take on that position, things start to change. Yeah. And I noticed that too, actually. So like, I originally started my business because I wanted to make money, but when I started to really not see it as that, but start to like, okay, well, this is my role, so I'm going to do the best role that I can. That's when everything really changed for me. Definitely, man.
I've you ever watch Parks and Rec, that show?
I don't really watch.
That's fair.
Much.
I'm not big into TV, but Parks and Rec is very, very near and dear to my heart. And there's a character on that show named Ron Swanson. Okay. And he said something during an episode, and that really stuck with me. He's like, never half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's really true.
No, I absolutely agree. I think it's really good advice for life. It's like, look, if you're going to do something,
do it.
Do 100%. Yeah.
Get that.
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to end today. Yeah. Next topic. What are we going to talk about next time?
Dating.
Okay,
let's
good. So let's
just dive into that.
So when I did talk on when I did post the concept of this podcast on Facebook, a lot of people did mention that too, and making friends and work stuff. So next time, let's talk about dating.
Let's just open that barrel of monkeys.
I hope my wife won't get too angry at me. All right, man. See you later.